Hi, welcome to Mr. Dyer's Musings. I'm Mr. Dyer, and today we're going to be talking about sharpening. As always, I'd like to thank my wife and family for their unconditional support. I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon for helping me continue to make these videos. I'd like to thank my students for pushing me to be better. I'd like to thank my scouts for also pushing me to be better. I'd like to thank you guys, my viewers, and my subscribers, because without you guys, ultimately, there'd be no reason for this channel. So thank you so much. If you're brand new to my channel, please check out my other videos. Kind of a plethora, a variety of different type of videos, because it's called Mr. Dyer's Musings. So it's various things that interest me. Generally speaking, it comes from a historical context, okay? But not always. So today we're going to be talking about sharpening. And this is might be my shortest video ever. It's going to cover some tips and tricks on how you can sharpen your knife in a more effective way, especially if you're new to it. You know, if you don't have the mechanical muscle memory of sharpening. So hopefully this gives some value to you. Now, if you have watched my channel before, you know that I am a straight razor aficionado. I like buying straight razors, collecting them, restoring them, and sharpening them, and honing them for my own use. Not so much for the face, but for the neck. Not for my head either. Not yet anyways. So if you sharpen straight razors for any amount of time, really, you're probably familiar with the idea of taping the spine of your straight razor so that it doesn't wear down on the straight razor itself. Now, this isn't really such a common practice in knife sharpening because unlike straight razors, in knife sharpening, you're still taking away metal. That's the whole purpose of sharpening, but it's not as imperative to something that's going to be worn out, and the grind is extremely important to get that razor sharp edge. Okay, so the reason why we tape the spine is so that there is no wear and flattening of the straight razor itself, so that the angle is maintained for a longer period of time. Okay, you get a consistent angle, but still, every single time that you sharpen a straight razor or any other metal, it is going to wear it down just slightly. So I take this concept, and my kids who are young, they're having some trouble with sharpening their knives. Now, when I was a scout and I learned how to sharpen my knife, I didn't use tape. You know, it was just the tried and true. You just got to figure it out, get used to it. My dad, bless him, you know, he didn't really give you much more than, hey, this is how you do it. Hey, you're doing that wrong. Try this, etc. And you just kept doing it until you finally got it. Okay. And I think that's good. You know, it's definitely effective in everything. But I think that as a teacher, you know, speaking from a teaching experience, there's a better way to scaffold the learning so that the student, the scout, the person, the youth, etc., can get that muscle memory down and possibly even see the how and why it works. Okay. So I have two knives here with me, and they're already taped up. Generally speaking, knives are ground from a 15 to 30 degree angle, depending on the knife. And the only way for you to really identify the angle of that grind is to take your hone, take your knife, I'll show you this big one, lay it flat on the hone, and it's a lot easier if you look at it straight on. And there you go. You angle it until it touches the hone nice and flat. Now you don't want it to go too much up, because you're going to reset the bevel. Okay, but to maintain the bevel, you want it to go down just enough to kiss the stone, and that's the right angle. So I took the whole idea of the tape and I applied it to my son's pocket knife. And it takes, to get the angle on these, right, I think this one's like 5 or 6 pieces of electrical tape. And you just, one after another, after another, after another, you tape it on the spine until it's like so. And that's how you know the angle, approximately. And you sharpen it so you're good to go. Now, this method works a lot better with your traditional smaller pocket knives. If you got a big honking knife like this, it's a little bit more difficult, because if you put your tape way out here, you're going to get like a ton of tape to get that angle right. So this knife is pretty nice because it does have this little hollow for me to gauge, because you do want it to be an even grind on both sides, where to put the tape. And I use the tip of the knife as the other marker. So I ran the tape along the side of this down to the tip. If you don't have that, then I would suggest you get a ruler and you would mark it out. And this one as well is about 5 or 6 pieces of tape where it's at. Another problem with these wider knives doing this method is you have the weight that's on the back, and it's a wider handle, so it's a lot easier to fall back on the knife. So be careful when you're using that method. All right, so that's the basics of it. Now let's talk about sharpening stones. If you get a Norton sharpening stone, this is Corbundum or whatever it's called, generally speaking, has a coarse and it has a fine side. If you go to coarse, your average pocket knife will not need coarse unless you're doing a major correction on like chips. Your fine should be sufficient. But honestly, even the fine is a little rough, because the fine side, I did mark it, is roughly about 800 grit. Okay, about 800 grit. And that's still kind of aggressive if you're just sharpening your knife, maintaining your knife. A better stone to get is a hone. And this is a 1,000 grit Nanawa. I like Nanawas for my straight razors, and this is a super stone. And depending on what stone you get, depends on what you need to use. This is a water stone. Some water stones you have to soak. This one is a super stone. You don't have to soak, which is pretty handy. I like it. Pay a little bit more for it, but it's better. You may have grandpa's old sharpening stone, bench hone. This one is a pike, white lily. And this one, again, I like to write on my hone so I know what grip. It's about 800 grit that's lapped, and it's about a 7,000 grit if it's worked. Like, you've put a lot of time on it and everything. Not glazed, but it's kind of worn. Then it's about an 8,000. So in theory, you can take a straight razor and reset the bevel on this hone all the way up to shape ready. It takes a while. I don't like doing it. I got better things to do with my time. The Nanawa hones, which are not natural, they're man-made, they're faster cutting, but there's some other issues where you have to lap it more regularly. They do get glazed more frequently, so once they really start getting glazed, you have to take them back and you have to lap them again. And that's it, So that's the bare knuckles tip. Mr. Dyer's Musing's tip. Use tape, especially if you're just learning or you're having a real hard time getting an edge on your knife for whatever reason. Maybe you're just having a bad day. Swallow your pride or whatever. Use some tape. It'll save you a lot of time, save you a lot of frustration, and you'll get an accurate bevel. You'll get a cleaner edge, a sharper edge that way, because you're taking away a lot of the man mistakes. You know, we're all imperfect. You know, we shake hands, maybe you roll it a little bit. There you go. That is it. I hope you liked the video. I hope you found it useful. Please click like if you did. Please consider subscribing. If you're brand new to my channel, like I said, check out my other videos. They're pretty cool. I appreciate your support. Give a kiss and hug to your loved ones. As always, please comment and take care.